Good morning, everybody. It is beautiful, 12/19/2018, and I see zero snow outside. So weird. It feels like a really cold day in California. That's what it feels like because there's frost on the ground, and I saw Santa Claus come down the street in some motorized lit up car. It's pretty cool. He was stopping around, waiting for people to come out. I didn't come out because it was too cold for me, but it was kind of funny. And yeah, last night was kind of funny too. I was feeling something weird. No, not weird in a bad way, but it was like, I mean, we all know that we deal with trolls, right? We have people that hate us, that don't even know us, but they hate us because of what we say, right? They don't agree with what we said, or they don't agree with our politics, but they don't know us personally. So it's almost like, I think probably a couple months ago, I would have felt and taken somebody's, lashing out at me because of whatever I said or whatever I, did, or, whatever I said, like on Facebook, I would have taken it personally and I've been like, oh, and felt kind of bad for a minute. And then I'm like, now it's so interesting. I get a few intermittent trolls. I don't get as many trolls as I used to, but I mean, they still are around and they still will see like the Dr. Phil show or something else and they'll have something to say about it. And it's like now I'm like, I read some of these, these comments from some of the trolls. And I'm just like, they don't even know who I am. They haven't even looked at my Facebook to read the testimonies. They don't even know anything. It's almost like they can't wait to hate me for whatever reason. And I figured out what that was. I mean, we all kind of know that when somebody doesn't like us and they don't know us, it really isn't me. It really isn't me or that person that's being hated. It really is a reflection of the other person. It really is. And so when it's a reflection of the other person and they're looking in the mirror and they don't like what they see, it's nothing to do with me. It has zero to do with me. Now, if somebody has interacted with me and I may have said something that was like right in their face and they don't want to hear it, well, I can understand why they don't want to hear, me saying, hey, I don't want any debates on my Facebook. I'm going to delete this comment line. And it really just incensed them. And then I tell them this and that. And then they, don't like the fact that I kind of hold my ground and I don't let people get away with stuff, or I hold people accountable. Yeah, I can understand why that person would then, since they had a personal dealings with me, why they wouldn't like me. And I get it. And that's fine. And that's when I rely on the protocol and people know my intentions to either that person be like, okay, hey, you had a bad day, or hey, I'm sorry, or whatever it is, they need to go and keep that relationship up, that they can do that, or they will do what they really want to do in the first place. They wanted to tell me off because they're just hanging around to find an opening where they can just lay it in me. And that's okay too. I mean, I don't care. It's now it's become very comical on all the drama around Julie Juice and all of that, because we have now been establishing and we have now been focusing on the whole aging process. And then what's under the aging process? Well, it's all cancer, disease, and chronic illness in different levels and severities. You'll have a faster aging process with cancer. And yeah, you may get rid of cancer. Hey, good morning, Patty Tilly. You may get rid of cancer, but you're still aging. So you still have another underlying cause of disease that isn't like, this huge, I don't know, popular disease that is so severe that it's going to warrant you to go into the hospital. So no, you'll deal with, the breaking downs of your different systems. But man, if you have something that's aggressive, that's aging you faster, you're going to try to stop it. And that's really what trajectory the matrix of the allopathic and holistic market is that you are aging. As soon as you are born, you are going to be reaching levels of maturity. And so this is where, in this new world that we are in, okay, because we know that some of you are in the conspiracy world thinking that the New World Order is taking over, and you could possibly be right. So you're seeing some major changes in our society. Major. Forget jelly juice for a minute. You are seeing kids develop faster. You're seeing different mutations being totally politicized and mainstreamed and accepted. You're seeing behaviors from kids, entitlement, accepted. You're seeing the government cracking down on disciplining children. So we're going to have a very different type of kid and then a very different type of adult out there running around, which is going to warrant law enforcement because there's been no discipline in the home. Okay, so you're going to see so many changes in our society. Well, also, you're not going to know how old people are. And I'll tell you why. Because since they've been upping the vaccine schedule, since they've been upping all the different negative elements that you can counter, but we know not everybody is because we still have the major population still against jelly juice, you're going to see kids develop very quickly. You already see it already all over Facebook with some of the articles about children doing things that adults would be doing, and people are having a freaking cow over it, right? You're going to see these kids are going to look like they're 30 and they're probably only 15. The reason why is because the body is developing very quickly. The hormones that are in either the vaccines or in the food supply, the water, or wherever else they're getting exposed to, that is impacting these children's body, and you're seeing them develop, whether mentally too, because you're going to see some of these kids are very mutated, or not say mutated, but they're developing very quickly. Because who's to say how fast or how slow somebody develops, right? It's all based upon the different biochemistries, based upon exposure and nutrition. Exposure to what? To pathogens, which does age a body, as well as nutrition, and then, nature and nurture. That's what determines how fast a kid develops. So you're going to see some kids that are so like little old men because they've been allowed to develop that quickly. Now, the real difference is how fast you die. That's the thing, is that are you going to be developing so quickly to where you're maturing at a maturity level? Let's say, 100 years ago, kids were mature at age 20 or at age 16 or 17, and they looked like they're age 16 and 17. But today we're seeing kids mature at age 13, age 12, age 11. They're getting their period sooner because that means that the body is knowing that it's on a death trajectory, it's maturing faster, it's dropping seeds and saying, hey, you're now old enough since you're maturing. Not that you really are old enough, but your body is old enough to carry a baby because you're on that death trajectory. Doesn't mean the kid knows how to handle the world, but it means the body's able to reproduce. So how fast you die is based upon on the elements that you are putting in your body. Because, when you see right now in the Matrix right now, you're seeing right now, 11, 12, 13 girls get their period. Then you're seeing them, I don't know, graduate high school at age, 17 or 18, maybe 19 if they're held back. And then you see them go to college and they start getting these life skills, right? But now we're looking at the internet, right? So back then, information and things were controlled back then. Now we have, not only the vaccines that are developing our children much more quickly, as well as the pathogens, we have the internet and the age of information where these kids are getting access to information and they're getting access to people who are confused, who are just as confused as they are. Either they're not, either these people who are mutated that are really messed up, are gravitating towards what they think is a developed person when it really isn't. That, yeah, the person is developed physically, but mentally, they're still living at home. Okay? But on the other side of it, you have jelly juice. Now, I know I'm kind of skipping all over the place right here, but I'm trying to get a point, and I'm trying to develop right now a thought process. So you're just watching me kind of develop this as I'm doing this. So excuse a little bit of a scatterbrain. But you're seeing people on jelly juice who are reversing the aging process. So you won't know how old they are because right now a person could be in their 40s and 50s and they look like they're 30 and you would never know. No different on the other side of it when someone's developing so quickly based upon their exposure, no fault of their own. that you won't know that they're 13 or 12 when they're so completely developed. And then you're seeing these boys at school, that are very developed and messed up and whatever, targeting these young girls because they don't know what to do with their sexuality. So what do? They do the thing that they know best, which is bullying and harassing and using going by their baser instincts. Because that's what people do that aren't developed mentally, is they work from their baser instincts about sexuality, violence, love, and all of that. I mean, you look up baser instincts, that's exactly what underdeveloped people work from. And we see that in the population that are adults who have never matured in the head because they have stopped maturing mentally, but their body hasn't. And you're seeing that in the younger population where they're maturing faster, physically and maybe mentally if they are, if they're able to focus and they have access to information. Because I remember a lady came on my Facebook that was saying, oh yeah, my son, and I was arguing with her for a minute. I was saying, kids are not gonna say, don't buy me a toy. But yeah, I guess there are some kids that will say this. The reason being is the way that was raised, for one. Number two, they are maturing faster at a very young age. Doesn't mean that it's good, because it means that now you're on a very fast, mature death trajectory. If you're developing that quickly and you're not allowed to be a kid, to where you're not even wanting to play with things and have a childhood, right? I mean, we're told that we need to have a childhood. Is that really the case? Is that what is supposed to be normal? I don't know. I mean, we've seen a norm of where we develop, in stages, and we have parents that will guide us through these stages of development, and kids are supposed to have a childhood, go outside and go skateboarding, play basketball. But now we have kids that are, homeschooled, which is great, but they're writing their thesis at age 13. Okay, that's great. Yeah, they're mature and they'll get into their profession, but then, they're on that death trajectory now, because now that they've developed to the point of maturity, now they are a mature adult, even though they may not be mentally, but they are physically a mature adult. And then maybe their mind will catch up if the parents have caught them up, right, to their body and their mind finally aligned. And then if they don't know about Jilly Juice, they are going to expire faster. So so they'll reach their pinnacle of, I don't know, what a person in the Matrix, when they, have reached all of their goals, probably in their 30s and 40s, where they're like, I'm executive vice president, I am, CEO of a company. They may reach CEO at age 20 or 30 versus age 40 or 50, because they've developed and matured that quickly. But that means that when they're on that trajectory, they're going to die in their 50s. I mean, look at Steve Jobs. How old was he when he passed away? That's too young. Look at Penny Marshall. She's 75. That's too young to die. But the way that our system was back in the 70s and 80s and 60s, 70s, 80s, and in that generation, because she was born in 1943, they were able to, go through those stages. But we're seeing kids develop even faster. So they're going to be going through those stages that we went through at a faster rate, which means that you're going to be facing some very adult situations while they're teens. And we already see it. So that's fine that happens. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if a kid is doing well and they're goal oriented and they're not, breaking the law or doing anything horrible, then that's great that they develop quickly. But we've got to maintain their life trajectory so they don't die at age 50 or 60. Because when you're developing that quickly, that early, then you're seeing that person pass away at age 60. You're going to see it. You already see it in some areas that don't have, as much resources as other areas. If people in my family didn't have the resources they did, they would have expired 30 years ago. They would have died from something 30 years ago. But the fact that you have money and you have resources, it can buy you time on this earth. But now let's flip it and let's say, hey, instead of us trying to figure out, that what we bring to the table will determine how fast or slow we die, that's the model right now. Why don't we say, hey, when you're on Jilly Juice, let's determine if your life trajectory is based on what you bring to the table, and it'll determine how fast or slow you get to that point of a life trajectory to where you reverse your cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And that's based upon context. You play with the negative elements, you're buying how fast or how slow you're going to reach the end where you die. Well, with Jilly Juice, you're buying, and it's going to take, relative to what you bring to the table, your desire, your mutations, it may take you longer to reverse your issues to get to the point of like where, wow, you feel amazing. And it may take shorter for some. Some people are so die hard, kick some ass. I'm going to do this. I'm going to deal with the healing symptoms. I'm not going to let life get in the way. And they reach that point of where everything's amazing much quicker than the other person who's like hemming and hawing and having all these reservations. And definitely faster than the trolls who are like, oh my God, Jillian's crazy. Right? So that's what I want for all of you guys to understand. That right now we are on this very fast death trajectory. And it means that we're going to be developing very quickly at a very young age. I'm already seeing in my nieces and nephews. They are so much more mature, but also maybe not as empathetic, and you're seeing there's some definite differences in the kids today. You are seeing definite differences in the kids today because kids, yes, you have helicopter parents, and then you're not allowed to hold your kids accountable for bad behavior. Now, I'm not saying beat and torture your child, of course not, but you got to upset homeostasis and redirect their energy so they're not on that trajectory of complete entitlement where then they can't even grow in their adulthood. So it's very interesting to watch. Just watch all the kids around you. Watch the different parenting styles. And these parents that are parenting their kids are taking it from, the authority that has changed their model based upon the changing conditions of the exposure that is impacting biochemistries and that is making them develop at such a quicker rate. Gone are the days of the 1950s and 1960s and 70s where kids were allowed to be kids. No, now kids have to achieve so much before they even get out of high school. That is insane, and that's okay. Some parents, and the reason why parents have children is in a lot of ways is because it's picking up where the parents left off, or they want to have a kid in their image for whatever reason. It's like an extension of them. That's how kids are being used. And it shows because that when you see a parent working their kid so hard to achieve so much, it's like the mother is living vicariously through their child because they didn't achieve. So now that kid's going to achieve what they didn't achieve. And then the kid feels that pressure. And that's why you have kids that are going to go in whatever direction. They're going to be successful and just toe the line. Or they're going to totally rebel and say, screw you, I'm my own person. Let me develop myself. I'm tired of being pressured into being a certain way. And I was one of those kids. Okay? Thank God I was one of those kids. If I would have followed really in my parents' footsteps, I would be over a cliff. I was already over a cliff a couple years ago. Until I said, you know what, I'm going to take my health in my hands and I'm going to stop relying on the system that didn't do them any favors. And I'm going to figure this shiz out. My mother did a great job to a certain point, and then the rest is up to me. And that's where people have failed to figure it out, that they think that their parents owed everything to them. They owe society nothing. They don't owe society any changes or any maturity. It's all their parents. And then some parents will feed into that. And they will be that safety net. So that child will never learn how to stand on their own 2 feet. And then these kids make these mistakes because they make these bad choices because they were never held accountable. Except for maybe a little bit of embarrassment, but what's a little embarrassment? Sometimes you got to straight up suffer, not like suffer in a bad way, but you got to straight up suffer and deal with upset of homeostasis. So then that way you remember why it is you don't do these certain things. So the age of developmental change in our society is going to confuse a lot of people because it's so different than it was 20, 30 years ago. And then you're going to see crimes being committed because people don't know the age. They're used to eyeballing a person saying, oh, yeah, this person's probably, 18. When that kid is like in junior high. So men and women, both. Well, see, that's the thing. It's like, when you have people who are mutated, who are adults that have a teenage mentality, they're not going to make the right choices. Then you have a kid that is, that has a developed body but a teenage mentality, they're not going to make the right choices, and they have the internet that's going to influence them. Oh my God. Parents are not even really in the equation anymore. They're just, the caretakers. The internet and the government's raising your children. I mean, yeah, you can homeschool and kind of offset it a little bit, but the age of information is so now in your face that you have to keep up. If not, and when you keep up with technology, you're faced with access to information. So how do we guide that carefully so our kids are making the right choices, so these adults are making the right choices for their kids? That's going to be the new world, and that's going to be an ever developing process. And we're going to see a lot of mistakes, okay? We're going to see a lot of mistakes, but law enforcement is there to make sure we hold people accountable and say, hey, we have some changing conditions. Instead of now asking somebody's age, you look at their ID and you take a picture of it if you're trying to date somebody, because that's going to be your recourse in case the parents want to sue you if you're a male. Now you got to take so much more precautions to protect yourself, because you're going to be on a sex offender list if you happen to make a mistake. Who wants to live the rest of their life on a sex offender list because they didn't take the extra precautions to figure out who the hell they dated and were they of age? And they may be changing the of age based upon the maturity level of the body, based upon the exposures, the pathogens that have caused the body to mature. May not be mentally, but they're looking at everything physically nowadays. I don't know. You're already seeing some changes. You're already seeing them changing even gender stuff. Okay. So, I mean, that's not out of the question that they're going to change even the age of consent on some things. Okay. So just be aware that this is what's going on, because they're basing it on how fast the body matures, how fast society is maturing from the age of when you're born. Okay. And it's the thanks of biotech, as well as all the excess pathogens that are maturing the body very quickly. And then the age of information. And these think tanks are doing these experiments and are watching the population. Facebook is a major data source. And then, when these people end up in prison, they study them in prison. I mean, that guy, Chris Watts, I'm sure they're studying him in prison. What caused him to completely snap? And I was reading somebody's perspective on it. And, it's like, yeah, when you have 3 kids and your wife is a major high-level MLMer who's an 80,000 person, whatever, executive level, a lot of people under her, they're always going on trips and vacations because of because of the company. And then he's going on his 3rd kid, and he's now like stuck in this life that he's not sure he wants to be a part of. And now he sees this freedom, not justifying what he did, but you can understand the mentality of why he snapped. A 3rd child that has issues, because both his other kids had health issues. Health issues tax a family. Health issues break families apart. You don't want to deal with somebody with a health issue in your family, especially if you have 3 children that all have health issues. Or the mothers and the fathers will then check out. They'll turn to drugs and alcohol to deal with having that kind of stress every day. And people say, oh, well, this is your child. Yeah, theoretically, that sounds great. Oh, this is your child. But when it comes down to it, not everybody's prepared for that kind of responsibility or has the maturity level to handle that. If they're still a kid on the inside in their head, what makes you think they're going to want to take care of 3 sick children? So yeah, they're going to be studying Chris Watts majorly. They're going to be like, wow, what kind, psychopaths and all of that, their mentality is a child. What do children do? They want to kill things because they don't know how to express they don't know how to express their frustrations, for one, And then they don't know how to do the proper thing, making the right choices that have good consequences. Get a divorce. Don't kill your family. But no, when a child is upset about something, they want to, and they don't know how to manage their feelings and their frustrations, they will lash out and they will express themselves in the not most mature way. And so then somebody has to say, hey, okay, you can't do that. Yeah, if a kid kills any animal, it's not a good thing. But that's based upon, the allowance of the parents, allowing them to express themselves. So, but yeah, when anybody kills something, whatever it is, I mean, yeah, I understand bugs, right, and stuff like that. But when it's a living, breathing thing that you love, and it's and you get to a level of frustration, and you don't know how to make the right choices. When you get to that point, when you get to the snapping point, it's because your brain hasn't developed in a mature type of an adult way that understands, actions and consequences, and they just start finding a different way. I mean, or a more creative way that they think they can get away with. When people are trapped, or when people are when their backs against the wall, they start getting creative. I mean, look at the guys in Alcatraz. They were felt trapped, and they found a way to escape prison. They were that crafty, that creative, that desperate. You got to be desperate to try to escape from Alcatraz and then go fight the waters in the Bay Area. Okay? So when humans are backed against the wall and they're feeling trapped, they will become creative. It's when you're not feeling the pain and you're not feeling like your back's against the wall, when life is relatively easy, you have no reason to be creative or do anything to change. It's when homeostasis gets upset and you have only two choices, suffer or live, is when you start actually being creative. And that's why it is that this protocol is amazing, because you're going to have to suffer a little bit, and then it's going to make you appreciate what life truly is. And then you become more creative too. Because yeah, you can get creative when you're sick, and you see it in artists all the time, but do you really want creativity coming from mutations? Or do you want creativity coming from a very 100% well body? And that's the difference that I'm trying to get across, that is lost on people who can't even get past, oh my God, she's talking about immortality and regrowing. How is it offensive to talk about immortality and regrowing limbs and organs and reversing cancer disease and chronic illness? Why is that so offensive? Is it because someone told you your whole life that you can't, and then someone like me tells you that you can, and I'm selling a book and you think I'm a scammer that way? I'm not that evil. I mean, if you think I'm that evil, then you really should look at yourself and say, hey, why are you projecting yourself onto other people? When you're triggered by somebody, it's because it's your own unresolved issues. And I learned that whenever I get triggered by somebody, it really isn't them. It's what they have said that I have unresolved feelings about, that I have to get out and articulate. And I do. And that person, is going through their own journey. Will they eventually get to where I'm at? Possibly, but they still have to go through their journey. I may not want to be along with their journey because they may not be going through the same things that I'm going through. So no, I'm not going to hang out with them. But they're on their journey. So if they get triggered, because they're reaching a point where they're now having to face what they'd never had to face before. Now they have to make a choice. Once you're upon this knowledge, you have no excuse but to either entertain it or deny it. But now you've just had a choice. And some people didn't want the choice. They wanted to stay comfortable in their world of being anesthetized. And now they're faced with this choice of whether believing or disbelieving. And that sucks, because it's always going to be there. And it's always going to, and if you are on that death trajectory and you're reaching hospice, those are some of the regrets. And then will you be strong enough to look at Julie Juice when you're in hospice? Why wait till you get to that point? Why not be wrestling with this information when you're young? And and you're going to lash out at me. I get it. And I'm okay with it. I just delete and block and let you spew off to your friends. But maybe you actually do the protocol, and maybe you don't. At this point, it doesn't even matter to me what people do. So, so this is, it's been a realization for me, and this journey has been crazy. It has been so crazy. And the revelations that I have been, exploring and putting out there, and, anytime that I see somebody, suffering or passing along, the pills, powders, supplements, and herbs, and don't think that, that thinks that aging and dying is okay. I just have to almost laugh. I have to laugh and I have to hold myself a little bit back because it's so much. It is in your face. And so all I do is I just try to reach those that are willing to just, to just let go of suspend all disbelief and just allow themselves to hear what I have to say. And some of you will sleep on it for a few months. And then one day you'll wake up going like, oh my God, that one video reached me, like that one testimony. Death is a mutation. That really hit home for that one person. She posted it in my group and then she deleted it. Excuse me. I get this mucus in the morning, so it's nothing to do with whatever. It's weird. But every morning I do this little snarky thing. So, and I know you guys see it and hear it. But yeah, that person had a revelation. But she deleted it from the group. But I get notifications of new subscriptions or new threads and new topics. So, that's fine that she deleted it, no big deal. But I got it and I reposted it in my Facebook. Because one day you're going to wake up, you're going to be like, wow, Jillian was actually right. Oh my God, I have been on this death trajectory, this death process for my whole life, and I'm so tired. I want to get off that goddamn ride. I want to freaking live. I'm tired of being overweight. I'm tired of having to go from one protocol to another protocol, and they don't do anything, maybe superficial changes, but nothing has really changed significantly. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. My back's against the wall. I have nothing else left. Let me study your information. And there I am. I don't do personal consultations because I'm not your doctor. So it's going to be you studying my information, you making that choice, you sending me the receipt after you bought the book, you getting that login and password, and then you navigating my site, and then you asking the question, and then you going and buying everything that it takes to do this protocol. So everything is premeditated on your part. You are now saying that you get it. That's why you are going through this process. So you can't blame me or anybody else why it is that you don't get this healing symptom. That's the beauty of this protocol. It makes everybody accountable for their choices. Nobody forced Jilly Juice down their throat. And on Facebook, I can say a lot of stuff within Facebook community standards. On my website, as far as advertising, my hands are tied about as far as what the possibility is. So I don't even say the possibility on my website as advertising. Now in the group, we can say whatever we want in the group once we get in there. But as far as advertising, completely different story. But on Facebook, it's a private institution or a private entity. You have certain leeways. You have certain free speech that you can have that you don't have out there on the open market. On YouTube, you have certain allowances to say certain things without being held accountable by the FTC. Okay, so I understand how all this works. So that's why I can say as much as I can say without completely being crazy. Like I can't say certain things that is political that's going to trigger community standards because you see me in Facebook jail because people reported me of whatever I said, and then Facebook figures out I wasn't being, discriminatory. But there are certain words and certain things that you can't say on Facebook, but you could say it over there on the open market, on a website. But as soon as you start taking money from people as far as books, then you trigger, trigger advertising laws. So, anyways, yeah. So I want some of you. I don't want anybody to have their back against the wall because that would suck. But you're going to be. A lot of you are. Some of you are really young. You're not going to have your back against the wall for a few years. You're going to go through all of your pills, powders, and supplements, and alchemy, and herbs and extracts and detoxes, and then eventually, when you're tired and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then that's when you will start exploring my information. Until then, you're just going to be listening to me, wondering what is it she's going to say that's going to finally make you say, okay, I'm going to do it. And that's why I talk a lot. That's why I have all these videos. That's why, Kevin's going to write, the book based upon his perspective, interweaving my stuff in there too. I'm not a major writer. I know it. I've written, my stuff is okay. It's dry. It's just straight up information. It's not fun like Kevin's information, but that's okay. I'm just trying to get a point across. Where my strength is speaking about this, is overcoming the objections. Getting past all the programming is what I'm good at. thinking on my feet is what I'm good at. And then other people have other strengths. Okay. And so I just ask all of you that are on the fence, just keep reading and watching my stuff. You know, I don't want to talk you into anything. This is something that you're going to have to know intuitively that this is for you. If not, then, you know, it's going to be moot. It's going to be pointless. But you're going to be, you know, some of you have done the protocol and then stopped it because you just couldn't get past the taste or the smell or the healing symptoms, and you got big things going on and you don't want that upset of homeostasis impacting your bottom line. So I get it. So you just wait until you find some kind of control over your life to where you can incorporate healing and still have your life. It won't be exactly the same. You may have to calm down on a few projects or a few travel itineraries, but hey, you know, your health is way more important than, like, you know, a day or 2 or 3 or 5 days of fun or a 6-month project. You know, you invest a year in this where you kind of keep things on the down low, a year or 2, that's huge if you have the capacity to live 300 or more. I don't even want to say a number because that's limiting. You will live life indefinitely if you keep regenerating your cells and you stay within the proper context, positive elements. You're always going to be surrounded by negative elements, always. But can you then separate out the positive elements and understand the laws of the human body and the immune system and understand the role of negative elements so you're not taking in more negative elements than you should? That's the beauty of this, is understanding and differentiating. So you're not fearful, because the thing with these E. coli recall scares of, like, I don't know, cauliflower, buy local, guys. Just buy local. And now some of you are in areas where you can't buy anything local, where everything is shipped in from somewhere else. And that's unfortunate, because now you're relying on the fact that this food's getting shipped in. Maybe it's better that you move, or you grow your own in a hydroponic type of environment, your own cabbage and kale. If anything, just grow cabbage and kale in your own home, in some kind of, you know, self, you know, growing type of environment. Not rely on, you know, your local grocery store that may have recalls. Okay. So, but others of you, you know, like I'm in Ohio, I'm not going to be affected by these recalls for, you know, cauliflower or romaine lettuce, which really, you know, because we have cabbage that's grown locally and then Walmart distributes to us. We have a lot of agriculture in Ohio. Okay, so I'm not going to have to worry about all these recalls. It's when you're getting stuff shipped in from different states and different countries is where you have to worry about it. But if you shop local and you shop at your local farmer's market, and you're in an area where it's not like the tundra or Siberia, where you're not having to rely on planes and ships shipping your food in, then yeah, you'll be fine. Okay, so, but let's say, you know, and if they do recall stuff, that means they're not going to distribute it anymore. But if you happen to buy it and you have like 10,000 pieces of it, right? Not 10, let's say you have like 100 cauliflowers in your house. Why you would have it, I don't know. Or let's say you had a whole bunch of cabbage that you have that maybe it's frozen or it's stored or something. And then they say, oh yeah, that was recalled. Just use chili juice on it. Just soak chili juice on it. It'll kill all the pathogens. No fear. Okay? No fear. There's always going to be pathogens. Look, people that are at the grocery store, they're fingering all your food. They're going through, oh, I don't like this tomato. I don't like that tomato. And they don't wash their hands, right? You don't know what the public does. You're getting E. coli right there. There's probably fecal matter all over the produce. So you got to wash your food anyways. But even if you don't wash, let's say you don't wash your food, you do chili juice, it's going to kill the pathogens. So there's no fear in all this, right? So that's why I'm trying to put these articles out, that people still want to induce fear. They don't want to copy and paste my comment about that article, which annoys the hell out of me, but whatever, you know, not everybody knows how to copy and paste and add a comment above the article. So I just copy and paste it to their comment line, and they may delete it relative to their intention, right? So that's why I post these things and say, hey, there's no fear here. There's no fear here. Just stop it. So anyways. All right. You guys have an amazing day. I just wanted to touch base with you and just show you, hey, I'm doing great. And just do the Jilly Juice. Just get the book, jillyjuice.com. Get the book. Send us a receipt. Lillian will give you a login and password. You can ask unlimited questions in my discussion forum. And really, it's the easiest protocol ever. It's the most inexpensive, but you have to invest time. Understand it. That's your investment. $19.95 US dollars and $9.99 US dollars is really a pittance compared to the investment of your brain if you haven't really figured this out. And some of you already have your brain. So awesome, Tony. So all it is just reading the diet, reading the healing symptom management program, and then reading the recipe and just making it. The hardest thing is making it, because you're like, oh my God, I don't want to mess up. But you can't mess up with fermentation. You cannot mess up. Everything is correctable. This stuff lasts forever. The more it sits out, the better it is. It's like you can't mess up with lacto-fermented cabbage and kale using pink Himalayan salt. You cannot mess it up. So all of your, whatever your difficulties is really self-induced. Okay? So don't make this difficult. Just do it. Yeah, you're going to be in pain relative to what you have. Okay, Scotland. Yeah. Awesome, Tony. Yeah, you're going to be in pain relative to what you dealt with in the past, what you're dealing with presently, and then what kind of future triggers, what kind of stuff is in your body that hasn't triggered yet when all the conditions are right. And that's what people die from, is the fact that they have certain triggers in their body that have not triggered yet to induce a heart attack that will then take them down to the next level of death trajectory. But when you deal with Jilly Juice, you're going to be proactively dealing with it, which means that, yeah, you're going to be feeling pain. It's going to be healing those areas of what you would have died from, and you can't confuse the two. But some people will be like, oh my God. And then I'm like, hey, did you read the book? Did you read about the healing symptoms? Did you read about past, present, and future triggers? Did you read this? Oh, I haven't gotten through the book yet. Well, then what the hell? Read the damn book. You're no different than me. You're no different than your neighbor. You just have different mutations. And when they trigger, some people will trigger their mutations at 50, others will trigger their mutations at 60. But it still comes from the same universal body of 11 different systems, assuming that you're a human. If you think you're a Pleiadian or a reptilian, then I can't help you no matter what, because you're way out there and you haven't even figured out reality. Hopefully those people that think they're Pleiadian or reptilian still think that their body is still, will subscribe to the human protocols that are out there. But if not, then I can't help them no matter what, because I'd be talking to someone that's not in their right mind. And I've dealt with people that are like that think that they're reptilians out there, or that they're Pleiadian or something. Wouldn't you think Pleiadians maybe somewhat human? If you're relative, if you have, I'm not even going to go there. Forget it. All right. Well, you guys have a great day. I'm going to do what I do. But just go to my YouTube. I have a lot of videos about death as mutation, about cannabis, about all the different antibiotics. I talk about healing symptoms, I'm sure, maybe. I do talk about the diet, I'm sure. I do have, really amazing information on reproduction and, our society and the activists who are circulating within their own bullshit. I mean, I've equated some of these activists to the environmental terrorists that I used to deal with back when I was in California, and where they would go and vandalize car lots that had Humvees. And I'm just like, wow, no different than PETA. He's another environmental terrorist organization as well. And then I'm seeing these chemtrail activists who live in California that hang out in Berkeley, California. I'm like, oh my God, this is just the new generation of environmental terrorism. Because, we have scientists that are, look, we're living right now. We're able to survive. You're sick because you have mutations that you've never dealt with, but you're blaming it on the chemtrails. Okay? We are living. If the environment was that detrimental, we'd all be dead. Now, these natural disasters or these crazy storms, okay, yes, it may be induced by a lot of different things. And that sucks. So you better not live in an environment where hurricanes and monsoons or typhoons and all that stuff are prevalent. Take the data and use that data to your advantage, because chances are they are terraforming. I'm sure the scientists out there who are also mutated are trying to keep the balance so they live and their kids live, but they're also working for somebody that has an idea to terraform, to geoengineer for whatever reason. What we know about it, we don't know. Why? We don't know. Okay. So instead of speculating, just take the data and then act accordingly. Right now, people are stuck in speculation mode for the rest of their life until they die. And that's what the activists are doing. And so now I finally got it. These chemtrail activists are no different than environmental terrorists. But what can you do about it? That's their mentality. You can try to help them until they're blue in the face, but guess what? They'll be blue in the face because they chose to be. So I've gotten away from the activism, got away from the anti-government stuff, got away from the extremism, got away from all of that. And wow, it's amazing when you finally get to straddle the middle, where you're not from one extreme to the other. You're now finally right there, that balance. And that's where I want all of you guys to achieve that balance, where you're not so extreme anti-government, anti-everything, and then conspiracy theorists, and you're not so mainstream and so like brainwashed that nothing will get through to you. No, there is a balance. You'll understand the role of everything once you get your insights at a perfect equilibrium, or perfect enough where you can actually understand the role of the FDA. You can understand the mentality behind vaccines, and you can understand that pro-vax and anti-vax are no different. They both beget each other because they're both inducing antibodies in each other. They're actually partners in all of this, but that takes somebody getting away from their emotional charges and their emotional reactions and start listening from a very different place. And that's difficult when some people are mutated. So do the protocol. Do yourself a favor. Do the protocol. Give yourself a leg up. Give yourself a chance in this life, because this is your only life. All right. Bye.